I've done video before on doing a spiral rope, but there is a thing called a flat spiral rope. And basically what happens is you do a spiral rope wrong, kind of, and it turns into something really cool. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. This is what you end up with, and it's this really beautiful, very solid, but movable, undulating kind of piece. And so it works out great as a bracelet, but it also curves nicely, so it works really nicely as a necklace piece too. So it's got plenty of drape to it for a necklace. So we're going to learn how to do this today. And it's really easy. What you're going to need are two different kinds of beads. You'll have the beads that run, three different kinds of beads. You'll have the accent beads that run down the center of this piece. And in this case, what I'm going to use when I'm doing my demo here is 6mm fire polish. It's going to make a bigger piece than this, because what I have running down the center here is 4mm fire polish. But it just goes to show you that you can adjust your sizing somewhat. You're going to need an accent bead for the outside edge. Here I used 3mm fire polish, so this was 4mm and 3mm. Here I'm using 6 and 4, so we're just going to kind of size it up a way. And then the last thing that you're going to need are your seed beads. And your seed beads here are your size 15, because this was it was smaller and more delicate. I used the 15s. Because I'm using bigger beads here, I'm going to use the 11s in the demo that I'm going to do here. So we're going to start out by picking up a center, and my center in this case is going to be 2 of my 6mm fire polish. I'm going to bring those down, and then I'm going to pick up a loop, and this is going to seem familiar to those of you who have done a spiral rope before, but I'm just basically going to pick up enough beads that it creates a loop outside the edge of these 2 fire polish. In this case, what I'm going to pick up is, let's see here, I think I'm going to pick up 5 11s and one of these 4mm fire polish, and then another 5 11s. And we're going to see what that looks like. Make sure that it's not too big and it's not too small. I'm going to pass back through this center again with those beads. So you're going in a circle. Now that's a pretty big loop, and when I say that about it being big, see how far out it comes from the center here? We've got quite a bit of space in here. So I'm actually going to probably back that out, and we're just going to go with, I think, 4 beads on either side of the fire polish. The closer to the center it is, just the more tight everything gets. There's nothing wrong with having it farther out from the center. It's just a personal preference kind of thing. So that takes me back to 4, and then my 4mm center bead, and then we'll grab 4 of these. 3 and 4. Okay, same thing. Back from the tail end, back through those 2 center fire polish, and we'll pull. There we go. And now that's much closer. There's much less spacing in between there, so I'm happier with that look right there. What you want to make sure though also in this is that you don't have like a lot of thread showing, because like if I'd gone down to only 3 beads on either side here, what would happen is I would have too much thread showing. So 4 beads for me is my optimal number. I'm going to repeat that loop on the other side. So now I'm going to pick up 4 more of my seed beads, a 4mm, and then 4 seed beads. And I'm just going to pass back through that center again. And instead of stacking these all off to one side the way you normally would with a spiral rope, we're actually going to have one sit on one side and one sit on the other. Now for our next loop, we're going to start adding a center bead. And so I'm picking up one of those 6mm, and then I'm going to pick up the beads for a loop. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 11s, a 4mm fire polish, and then 4 more 11s. This time I'm going to have to bring them all the way down so that it sits next to those other beads. And what we're going to do, again, this will be familiar to those who have done spiral rope, is we're going to only pass through the top 2 of these 6mm center beads. So we're going to be adding 1 with every set and passing just through the top. That's how we're going to add our length. There we go. So now I've added the loop on this side. I still need to add the matching loop on the other side. So this time I'm not going to add any more length here. It's just another loop, because you'll have to have 2 loops out of every center fire polish. So there's my 4 and my 1 and 4. Okay, back through that center, the top 2, and I want my loop to sit on the opposite edge here. And so you can see how these are going to start stacking up on top of each other. And at first what's going to happen is they're going to want to flip-flop all over the place, but as you keep stacking them, they get more solid. Let's do one more, because I want to show you. So here I am, now I've got the 2 loops out of this last one that I added. That means I'm ready to add another center, plus my first loop. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 4mm fire polish, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I'll bring them all down, because with that 6mm fire polish, I just want to go through the top 2. So here I am, I'm catching the top 2. There and there. Okay, and now I still have to add the loop on this side. And so we've got 3, 4, and 1, and 4. And back through those top 2. Make sure that this new loop is on the other side. There we go. Oops, kind of caught the thread there around that previous loop. There we go. And now you can see how that's really starting to build up, and it'll look gorgeous. Here's the thing. I've got one little tip for you. Because you can just keep doing this, which is what I did here. I just kept adding and adding. But what ends up happening on your very last set of wings that you add, this is going to want to move on you. All the other ones have something sitting on top of it, so it keeps it from flipping around on you. But this very last set here likes to flip around on you. So I've got a tip for you on how to fix that. You would attach your clasp through here, as just coming out at the end here. Normally I would just make a loop of seed beads around my clasp and come back through here again. And when I came back down, I would come back down through these first 2 fire polish here, so that I could then pop back up the first couple of beads in this last loop. So in this case, I'm going to come up through 2, and I am going to actually it looks like maybe I need to come up through 4. So if I come up through 4 here, what I'm looking at is I want to see where this loop and the previous loop I want 2 beads that sit right next to each other here, because what I'm going to do, I'm just going to circle through these 2 beads here. So I'm going to pass through the bead that's kind of adjoining, and then back up through the bead in the loop the top loop. And we're basically tacking them together. Okay, there we go. Now I got the angle on it. So that just tacks it together, and now this top loop won't flip over. So then I would come back through here again, come back down to the center, and I would do the same thing over here. So I can't exactly tell you exactly what beads it's going to be, because it's going to depend on a little bit on your tension. But what you're doing is you're just getting to a look at this side and look at where you've got two beads that sit next to each other, and just those are the ones that you will kind of just circle stitch around, and that helps that from flipping around on you. So it's really that easy. And this is another one where you can go crazy with what you use down the center and what you use on the sides. So you can use crystals, you could use pearls, you could use all sorts of fun things. O beads, you know, O beads are my new favorite. So that would be a good thing to add on that outside edge. So this is another one to just, you know, use your imagination and see how far you can take it. Enjoy your flat spirals. Happy beading.